Hey everybody, welcome to week 6. We're going to be talking about authenticated encryption. So first, let's get into the introduction of authenticated encryption. So welcome to our session on authenticated encryption, often abbreviated as AE. AE is a term used in cryptography to describe encrypted systems that simultaneously protect confidentiality and integrity of communication. When we talk about confidentiality, it ensures that our data is kept secret from anyone not authorized to see it. Integrity, on the other hand, ensures that our data is not tampered with and we can trust it to be as it is when it was originally sent to us. So when we talk about authenticated encryption, we're talking about the method that integrates encryption for data confidentiality and for cryptographic integrity checks, which is essential way to ensure that the data has not been tampered with during the transmission. This is crucial in many areas of information security, from secured internet communication to confidentiality and integrity of stored data. In the coming slides, we'll dive deeper into why these aspects are important and how AE accomplishes these goals and the various methods used in AE. So for this slide, we're gonna be talking about a couple different things. We're gonna be talking about confidentiality, data integrity, authentication, protection against relay attacks, secure associated data. So we're gonna go to each slide and we're gonna talk about some examples and definitions. So first one is confidentiality. So we're gonna talk about it as a definition term. So one of the main goals of AE is to ensure confidentiality, as you know by now, since I've already said it about 5, 10 times. By encrypting data, we can ensure that it remains unreadable to anyone who doesn't process the correct decryption key. This means that even if someone were to intercept our communication, they weren't able to understand the data we're transmitting. This is crucial for protecting sensitive information, whether the personal data, financial details, or confidential business information. Some examples of confidentiality is online banking. So when you use online banking to make a transaction, to make a transaction and a transfer, your bank details are extremely sensitive. To protect them from being intercepted and read, AE encrypts this information during transmission. Without AE, anyone could intercept your data and could potentially access your account and actually defund some of your funds. Therefore, the confidentiality provides AE is fundamental to secure online banking. Next, we're going to be talking about data integrity. So, definition: when we talk about data integrity, we talk about the encryption isn't the only important part of AE. AE also provides data integrity, which means we can verify that our data hasn't been tampered with while it has been in transmit. So if an attacker tries to alter the encrypted data, the recipient will be able to detect the altercation. This is crucial in many cases where the integrity of the data is as important as its confidentiality. A message that has been altered could have a serious consequence, such as causing systems to behave unpredictably or make people act based on incorrect data. So, an example of this is hospital records. In healthcare, inaccurate data can be the difference between a life or death. If an attacker were to alter medical records in transit, such as medication dosage or treatment instructions, the results could be catastrophic. AE allows the receiving systems to verify the data has not been altered during the transmission, ensuring doctors are working with accurate, reliable data. Next, we talk about authentication. So another key component of AE is authentication, as it is in the name. Authentication ensures that the recipient can verify the sender's identity. This prevents impersonation attacks, where an attacker might try to send messages pretending to be the legitimate sender. With AE, we can tie data to a specific sender, providing another layer of security. So, an example of this is military orders. In military orders, the source of a command is as important as the command itself. Imagine a scenario where a drone strike order is to be sent. An AE ensures that the command was sent by the authorized person, preventing potential um, consequences of unauthorized or fake orders. Next, we talk about protection against relay attacks. So, as a definition, AE can also protect against replay attacks. In such attacks, an attacker might intercept and record a valid transaction, or sorry, a valid transmission, and then relay it later to trick the recipient into thinking it's a new transmission. AE provides a method to prevent this by associating a unique value, such as a timestamp or a known, with each message. If a recipient receives a message with a value that has already been seen, this can be rejected as a probable replay. So a protection against replay attack is the IoT smart home. Considered a smart home system where an unlocked door signal could be intercepted by a potential intruder. The intruder would replay this signal to unlock the door at a later time, granting unauthorized access. AE, on the other hand, can be used to make sure that each signal is unique, preventing old signals from being reused, thus protecting your home from such replay attacks. Next, we talk about the secure associated data. So there's also a uh, variant of AE called the AEAD, which stands for um, authenticated and encrypted with associated data. So this extension of AE benefits to the additional data that has also needs integrity and authenticating guarantees, but doesn't need to be encrypted. This can be useful in many situations, such as when we have some metadata or other information that needs to be transmitted alongside our encrypted data. So, an example of this is in a secure email system, while the email's body is encrypted, the header information, like the to section and the from fields, and the subject may not be. Even though this information doesn't need to be secret, we wouldn't want anyone to be able to change it. So, for instance, an attacker shouldn't be able to change the from field to impersonate someone else. The AEAD can provide integrity and authentication for this is associated. Unencrypted data thus prevents such impersonation and misinformation. Next, let's talk about a practice quiz question. So, in our session, we discussed several roles of authenticated encryption, or AE, plays in ensuring secure communication. Can anyone recall all of these roles? The options are A, ensuring data confidentiality, B, providing data integrity, C, confirming sender's authority, or D, protecting data replay against E, or E, all the above. So think about it, and let's see what you think. The correct answer for this would be E, all of the above. Perfect. Let's go on to the next question. So we also discussed several types of potential threats that AE helps mitigate, one of which is a replay attack. Can anyone remember what a replay attack is and how what a replay attack is and how AE can prevent it? The options are A, an attack where the encryption key is repeated and AE prevents it by using unique keys for each message. B, an attack where a valid data transmission is intercepted, recorded, and then replayed to trick the recipient. And AE prevents it by associating a unique value, like a null, with each message. C, an attack where an attacker attempts to send the same message multiple times to overwhelm the system, and the AE prevents it by limiting the number of messages a sender can send, or D, none of the above. And then the answer for this one is B. This came straight from the slides. So An attack where a valid data transmission is intercepted, recorded, and then replayed to trick the recipient, and AE prevents it by associating a unique value, like a null, with each messages. One of the big things to think about is when we talk about, why is A and B, what makes that different, right? When we talk about keys versus values, so it provides a unique value, not a unique key. So remember that. Perfect. Let's go on to the next one. So we also discussed the variants of AE known as AEAD. AEAD is extent of AE's benefit to additional associated data that needs integrity and authentication guaranteed, but doesn't need to be encrypted. Can anyone recall if this statement is true or false? And the answer for this is true. Okay, perfect. Next, let's jump on to our next one. So let's take a pause check here. Perfect. Let's get on to the next one. So now we're going to jump into understanding message authentication code, or MACs. Not Mac like MacBooks, but MACs. So today we're going to explore message authentication codes, or MACs, where are a crucial part of authenticated encryption. A MAC is a piece of information that is used to authenticate a message, ensuring its originality from the from the stated sender and hasn't been changed in transmit. MACs provide data origin authentication and integrity. The MAC value is computed using a secret key and a arbitrary length message. This is computed this computes MAC, also known as a tag, and this is attached to the message. Where the recipient gets the message, they perform the same computation and checks if the MACs matches. There are two main types of MACs: hash function based MACs, or the HMACs, and a blocked cipher based MACs, or the CMACs. HMACs are the most common and used in a cryptographic hash function along with the secret key. An example of this is the HMAC SHA-256. CMACs, on the other hand, use a block cipher along with the secret key. While less common than the HMACs, they are still used in certain circumstances, particularly where block ciphers are more or less reliable and less readily available than a hash function. MACs are used in various prototypes like the SSL or the IPsec. However, it is important to know that while MACs provide integrity and authentication, they do not provide confidentiality. The message being transmitted isn't encrypted and could be read if intercepted. To provide confidentiality, MACs needs to be used in conjunction with encryptions. In our upcoming slides, we'll dive deep into how MACs and encryptions work together to form the authenticated encryption. So we're going to talk about a couple different things here. So let's dive deeper into the two main types of message authentication code, HMACs and CMACs. First, let's talk about HMACs, or the hash function based MACs. They are the most common types of MACs. HMACs utilizes a cryptographic hash function along with a secret key, as mentioned before. A cryptographic hash function is a process that takes an input and returns a fixed size string of bits. Typically, digest that is unique to each unique input. So now, to design a one-way function, uh, infeasible to invert. When combined with a secret key, it produces a unique output or tag for each unique input message. A popular example of the HMAX is the HMAX SHA-256. SHA-256 is a cryptographic hash function used, and it is a part of the SHA-2. secure hash algorithm 2 family. In the HMAX SHA-256, the secret key and the message are inputs to the SHA-256 hash function, which produces the HMAX. Next we have the CMAX, or the cipher-based max. They are less common than the HMAX, but still used in certain circumstances. The CMAX work similarly to the HMAX, but instead of hash functions, they use block ciphers in combination with a secret key. A block cipher is a method of encrypting text where it is broken into blocks and each block is encrypted separately. One example of the CMAX is the AES CMAX. AES, the Advanced Encryption Standard, as we talked about before, is the block cipher used in this type of CMAX. Like with HMAX, the secret key and the message are inputs into AES cipher, which produces the CMAX. Both HMAX and CMAX serve both of these actually serve the same purpose of ensuring data originality and integrity, but use different cryptographic functions. The choice between HMAX and CMAX depends on the specific requirements and constraints of the system that you're in. Okay, perfect. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna actually perform a task here. We're gonna do a coding. We're gonna do a coding problem that you will see on your quiz, but we'll do the first one together, and then we can run into it. So actually, let me go back here. So to give it a little breakdown, so today we're actually going to perform a practical task where we'll calculate the HMAC, which is the hash function base MAC. We'll be using Python for this task, but you're welcome to use any language that you can and that you feel comfortable with, as long as it provides the necessary cryptographic libraries. And then I'll go step by step in what we should be doing. So we're going to be using the SHA-256 hash function to compute the HMAC. Python provides a handy library called the hashlib for various hash functions, including the SHA-256. So what we're going to do is that we'll first start by installing the required library. You can do this by opening up your terminal and typing in the pip install hashlib. This command installs the hashlib library, which includes the SHA-256 hash function. So next we're going to okay, sorry. Next, we're going to actually open up our Python. So I'm using an editor here. This is a web-based editor. So we're going to first import the HMAC, and we're going to import the hashlib. Next, we're actually going to use the message. Um, we're going to compute the HMAC for this message saying "Hello World" with the secret key. With the key being secret. So we need to convert these strings into bits because cryptographic functions work for bits, not strings. We can do this by using the code encode method in Python. Okay, perfect. So let's write this down here. So we're going to have, let me go down here. So we're going to have message equals hello world, exclamation mark, dot, encrypt, encode, close it off. And next, we said the key here is going to be secret. And same thing in code. Close it off. And then something that you'll have to do. So we're going to have to do h equals the value into it. So h equals mmac dot new. And then we're going to put in string. We're going to put in the key. We're going to put in the message. And then we're going to need the digest mod function. So equals hashlib And then we're going to top it off by putting the SHA 256. Next, we want to actually put the value of this. So MX HMAC underscore value equals H dot B hex digest. Close it off. And then now we're going to print this out. HMAC underscore value. And now we should, if we run it, we're going to have a key over here. And this is actually going to be our what is it? This is actually going to be our encryption. All right, sorry. This is actually going to be the value that we produce. So this is a good way to have a value that we produce from this by using these functions, right? So you may hear me ask that we change what the message is and then we change what the key is, and I'll ask you what is this value here. Um, but you can change this to anything, and then if you wanted to do this, you can actually do this reverse. But I want to put a disclaimer that remember that in the real world application, you can see you should use a more secure method to generate and store your secret keys. So you should never hard code keys into your applications like what we're doing now in this example. This is just a task of a simplified way for you to learn how the process worked and what it actually looks like. Perfect. Um, yep, so this is just a full code. This is what it looks like here. Um, Next, we'll do again something similar here, right? So we'll have one that says Michael Jordan as the actual key, and then the message is going to be the greatest NBA player of all time. And again, since if you already have this done, all we need to do is go here and we need to change these values, right? So we'll change this to uh, greatest, I spelled great wrong, the greatest NBA player. And then the secret code here is going to be Michael Jordan. Yep, so if done correctly, I should be getting a code. Yep, and then all you need to do for a question like this on the exam, you would just need to ensure that you copy this. And this is the information that I'll be looking for. Perfect. Yep, so same information here. So that's what it should look like. Perfect. We're going to stop the part one here before we get into authenticated encryption schemes. So we'll be right back.